Well, hello, I'm Joe Williams. I'm the film critic for the St. Louis Post-Dispatch, and I am a graduate of Parkway West, class of 1976. I also went to what was then called Parkway South Junior High in the early 70s, where I met my wife, Catherine Welch, who I'm now married to. So I am a proud Parkway West graduate, class of 76. I think I even may have my letter numbers right here. 76. I was a cross-country runner in sophomore year, junior year. I was on the cross-country team, so I was a letterman. And I loved my time at Parkway West. Parkway West Longhorns right here. This is 35 years old, however old it is. But you know, I was really affected by my time at Parkway South. Parkway South like turned this formless young man into a journalist writer type. Here I am as the photographer on the yearbook, the Colt Image, 1972. That's me and my next door neighbor, Rob Carney. And yeah, I had lots of hair back then. I was about this tall. I had red hair, and I had a nice camera, and I went around taking pictures. So that was my introduction to journalism. And I've sort of been doing journalism and fiction writing and things on the margins of the arts ever since. I've been a rock critic. Now I'm a movie critic at the Post-Dispatch. This is actually the job I wanted when I was about 10 years old. When I was out in the county reading the Post-Dispatch, I said, I want to be Joe Pollock. I want to be that guy who gets to watch movies for a living. Well, the thing is, be careful what you wish for, because I have to review teen comedies, slasher movies, car chase movies, chick flicks, European movies. Like, think of the kind of movie you don't like to see. I have to see that. So I have to like look through the eyes of every man. I have to understand what everybody likes. And if a movie's not for me, that still doesn't mean that it's not for a certain person. So I've got to be kind of objective about who's this movie made for and will they like it. It's a great job. I watch maybe 200 movies a year. And I think I probably learned how to write about movies and the arts from my Parkway education. I had some really, really good English teachers. One who I have to mention is a woman named Meta Potts, who was my creative writing teacher in my junior and senior year of high school at West. And she thought I was a very good writer, and she encouraged me to write poetry and short stories, and she entered me in contests. And she said, you know, you can make a living at this. It can be done, that someone can make a living at this. Well, I didn't believe her, but I do make a living. Now I am one of only 126 paid movie critics in America. There are only 126 of us left, and I am one of them. So even as the newspaper business is dying off and film criticism is done online, I'm one of the rare few who gets to write about movies for a living for a daily newspaper. Most of my English teachers, I know I was named the outstanding English student in the Parkway West English department in the class of 76. So I got a plaque for that with my picture on it with my red hair. But people like Polly Kennedy. Polly Kennedy was a real big influence on me. A guy named Don Ribbing. Don Ribbing, bless his heart, has been a family friend of the Williams, several of my siblings, for 35 years. He taught my wife, Catherine, and he is a very thoughtful guy who is still teaching, who taught us that we could aim higher. You could think about existential things. You could think about philosophical things and not be a dork. That it was honorable to think about ideas. And I carried that with me through college and grad school and into my professional life. That it is honorable to have big ideas. I still carry that with me, thanks to Don Ribbing. And Roland Klein was a big influence on me. I don't know if Roland Klein is still around or what he's doing, but he was a very demanding teacher who wanted the best of us, and he brought it out of us. Al Burr, who was our principal at the time, he was an example of intellectualism as an honorable thing. And I really value that, and I still do. And I feel bad for people who don't have teachers like I had. I recently had to review a movie called Waiting for Superman, which is a documentary about the public school system. And the premise of this documentary is that teachers are letting children down, and that because of bad teachers, we have bad schools, and therefore we should have more charter schools and bust up the public school system. Well, I never had a bad teacher. My whole time at Parkway, I don't think I ever had a teacher who I would consider a bad teacher. And I had some who were just wonderful teachers. So maybe I was spoiled, because when I went off to college, I went to the University of Pennsylvania. I had a full scholarship at an Ivy League school, and I thought it was easy. Compared to Roland Klein's class, my history class at Penn was easy. And compared to Polly Kennedy's class, my English class was easy. I was so spoiled by my Parkway education that I thought I'd never have to work hard again in my life. Well, once you have to make a living, you have to work hard again, but I was prepared for it because I had a good Parkway education. So I do have a job where I get to watch movies for a living, and along with watching movies for a living, I go to film festivals, and I go to the Oscars every year. That doesn't mean that I get to sit in the audience next to Jack Nicholson and Meryl Streep. There's a separate wing for the press, but I do get to sit in the bleachers while everybody's parading in. I get to take photographs, and then afterwards I get to be one of the people asking the questions of the stars after they've just won their trophy. So they come back and they're all excited and they're holding their gold trophy, and I'm one of the people saying, you know, Mr. Daniel Day-Lewis, how does it feel to win that Oscar? Well, here's my collection of passes from the Oscars. These are all of my press passes to get into the Oscars. It's almost a military operation at the Oscars, especially since 9/11. They really want to be secure about the kind of people they allow in, so they fingerprint you and they do a background check on you and they give you these things, and if you lose them, you go to movie jail. You cannot lose these things. But if you have them, you get to go on the red carpet and you get to rub elbows with these people. So I've met pretty much every movie star I've ever wanted to meet. I've interviewed Woody Allen and George Clooney and Julia Roberts, and Will Smith came to the Post-Dispatch to meet me personally a couple of years ago. So sitting in this chair, not this chair, but the chair that I sit in at the Post-Dispatch, I do get to meet a lot of people. Just today I interviewed an actress named Mila Kunis, and tomorrow I'm interviewing a director named Darren Aronofsky. I think I'm interviewing Mark Wahlberg in a couple days, and Valerie Plame and Joe Wilson. There's a movie about their lives that's getting made, so I'm interviewing them next week. So I get to interview a lot of people, and it's really an exciting part of my job, and I've never gotten over being starstruck. And here's the proof right here. This is from my first ever movie junket. When I first got the job about 10 years ago, I went to, there's this thing called junkets where they invite the movie critics to go to the left coast or the east coast and to interview the stars. So the first time I went, among the movies that they were doing the junket for was a thing called What Women Want, starring Mel Gibson. So I met Mel Gibson, and I met Helen Hunt, and I met all these other people. But at one point, this actress came in, and it was Christmas time. We all had Christmas cookies in front of us that we were nibbling on. And she came in and she said, "I want a Christmas cookie. I don't have one." And it was Marissa Tomei. Marissa Tomei, who hadn't done anything since winning an Oscar, like 10 years earlier. Her career had sort of fallen off. I thought she was so charming. I said, "Marissa, you could have my cookie." And she took a little bite of the cookie, and she said, "I'll just have that one little bite." Well, this is the sacred cookie that I still have. This is Marissa Tomei's Christmas cookie. It doesn't mean I'm a stalker, but it was like my first like human-to-human encounter with a movie star, and I've never forgotten how nice she was. Somewhere, this is how I do my job. I go into the dark in the movie theater, and I write down with a light-up pen. I have a pen that lights up in the dark, and I write down sort of plot outlines. So then he walked in the room, then the gun went off, so I can just sort of play back the movie in my memory. But I also use this when I do interviews. I have the questions written down for the interviews and what I want to ask them. Somewhere in here, and I don't know where, is the second autograph ever given by Dakota Fanning. Dakota Fanning, when she was 6 years old, on that same junket I'm talking about, she had just done this movie called I Am Sam with Sean Penn, and she was adorable, little 6-year-old girl, and at one point, during the questions and answers while we were interviewing the stars, I said, "Dakota, have you ever given an interview? I mean, how do you feel about being a movie star?" She said, "I gave my first autograph yesterday." I said, "Let me get your second autograph." So somewhere in here is Dakota Fanning's autograph. I don't know where, but somewhere in here is Dakota Fanning's autograph. So that's what I do. I get to meet them for a few minutes, and they get to be human in my presence. Then I go off and write about them, and it's a lot of fun.